The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Snapdragon, the all-in-one mobile processor. To win a tablet or smartphone, visit www.zatechshow.co.za/Snapdragon. And by Sharp. Check out the amazing new Sharp Interactive LED at www.sharpinteractive.co.za.
Hello and welcome to episode 201 of the ZA Tech Show for Monday the 13th of August 2012. It's 201. 221. 221. No, surely not. Is it 221? Already? Oh, yes, in fact it is 221. Thank you very much, Mr. Benedict Kelly from Mail and Guardian and Geek. Let me start with you. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Brett. How goes it this evening?
Yeah, all right, except for the fact that we had a couple of glitches, as usual. I mean, that's how it goes when
only when you're here.
Deck Show, you know. But nonetheless, we shall soldier on. Also in the house tonight, Mr. Stephen Ambrose from Strategy Works.
We make it works.
Yes,
you got that right. Well
I got
done.
it right this time. I introduced him from his former company the other night.
Well, that's fine. Former, current, we all do the same thing.
And that little
good to be here
in the corner was from the lovely, the fantastic, the amazing
No pressure.
Sam Beckbessinger.
Hello,
who
Mr.
absolutely,
Britsky.
Sam Greyjoy.
dude.
Sam Greyjoy.
She's wearing.
I'm now going by Sam Greyjoy.
She's wearing a Game of Thrones shirt tonight. House Greyjoy. We do not so.
No.
Did you pay the iron price?
Of course. Do you think I sullied the name of my house?
That's probably actually a good point to start.
Talk about role playing.
Game of Thrones people. So you're clearly a Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Who would you be, Mr. Kelly? From which house would you be?
Targaryens.
Targaryens. Ooh.
Really?
Yes,
I
I like dragons.
They're so whiny.
Yeah.
I haven't read all the books, so maybe I haven't got it. But
And have you any
actually
idea
only one
how
of them left.
expensive CGI actually is? And you, Mr. Ambrose, are you a Game of Thrones fan at all?
I read all the books. I found them really heavy going.
They are a little bit.
And the soft porn I didn't watch.
Not
all of it.
You've got to read the
It's
soft
HBO,
porn,
come
man.
on.
Do it, you've
Anyway,
gotta do it.
no,
They
but
get paid by
I'm not a
boobies per
big
second.
fan, but I quite got into the books in the end, and I always finish books.
If you had to pick a house, who would you be?
What are they again? Refresh my memory.
Stark,
Lannister, Targaryen,
Martell, Tyrell,
Baratheon,
the Tullys.
Greyjoys, Tullys, yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Never
so
mind.
Man, what would
Never
you be,
mind.
Britsky?
I'd be a Stark. Hell yes.
Oh,
You'll
sweet,
be a
all
Stark.
honourable.
Yeah, there we
joke?
go.
You all die and horrible things happen to
Yeah,
you.
what is the
It just shows you that bad things
I don't
happen to
know.
A
good people.
Lannister, Targaryen, a Stark, a Baratheon, and a... I've left one out.
Either way, walk into a
Walk
bar.
into a bar, and
Yeah.
then everyone you love dies.
It's great. See, I love the
much.
Greyjoys because they're very straightforward. You know, they're Vikings. They run around and they take what they want, and they're interesting.
Chop
Yes.
off people's heads.
You know,
They've got crap furniture though. I mean, they like giant halls with like
Nothing in them.
a table and a fire.
there's none of
and
this
some
weird,
meat.
angsty.
I don't know.
You know, oh, why all honor? I'm so depressed.
well,
none of that rubbish.
Anyway, okay, so let's actually turn this into a tech show because I think we are actually recording the ZA Tech Show
Are
tonight.
you sure?
Oh,
ZA
not
Tech
the
Show.
Fantasy
sorry,
Unlimited.
am I in the wrong room?
Yeah,
Damn.
No, it's fine.
the fantasy conventions.
Wait till you hear what my pick of the
next
week
door.
is.
We'll totally figure out a way to bring all of that kind of stuff in. But yeah, we were chatting just before the show, and not an alarming amount of tech news this week. Something's happening in the chat room.
People struggling to get audio feed.
People shouldn't be struggling to get the audio feed. Let me quickly have a look at that while we carry on.
Let's talk.
So let's talk about Telkom and their gigantic fine. Everyone in this room are Telkom
Woohoo!
fans, and we hate to see Telkom get a little smack in the face, but nonetheless, 450 million, all right?
Million.
For the people that don't have video, I'm actually holding my pinky up to my mouth. 450 million, and more to come apparently.
A 450 million rand fine, 9 years in the making. because that's how long ago this complaint was filed against Telkom by the Value Added Network Service Providers Association.
What was the highest amount that was ever speculated or put on the table? Because it was much higher than this.
1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they didn't get off.
They didn't get off
too
scot
badly,
free,
yeah.
but they didn't get off. But,
Could have been worse.
But what they did. What is the big issue is that this is only the first of a series of complaints against Telkom, and if they are found if the competition tribunal is found against them in this one, the chances are that they are not going to find a friendly ear when it comes down to the next one, and that could be another 500 million rand and another 500 million rand.
Can I make a quick prediction here?
Yes.
This is all going
You've
to
got to
stop.
write them down and put them in a jar in
this
the
is
middle
a
of the
quick
table.
prediction.
Yeah.
That if this matter is not settled in the next 6 months, the government will nationalise Telkom. It's
You
a
reckon?
simple, absolutely, absolutely. Where is that money going to come from to pay these fines, and where's the money going to?
Okay, yeah, that's the funny the part. There's going to come a point where Telkom will owe the government so much money that the government will just be able to say, well, actually, we'll forgive you the money that you owe us, but we'll just take over the company.
But that's exactly the problem. So what we're doing here, I'm not saying that Telkom didn't deserve a massive slap in the face with a 450 billion rand fine. The
Was
problem,
it billion?
No, it was million. It
Million.
was million. But the number is irrelevant. The fact is, it's borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. We Peter, Paul's the government. The money's going round and round, and in between, little bits of it fall off and disappear,
Sure.
and we all land up paying for it with massive telecommunications bills and taxes, and it's just crazy. The whole notion is absolutely insane.
What really irks me is that officially it's not us who are supposed to be paying it. It's the Telkom shareholders should be the ones.
No, those are the guys that took their money and ran.
Yeah, Telkom shareholders should be the
SBS and the boys.
Telkom shareholders are the ones who should be being punished for this.
Oh no,
Okay, 'cause
absolutely,
they-
absolutely.
And who owns the majority share in Telkom's? Government. So basically, it's government. Effectively, what this equates to is a nice extraordinary dividend for Telkom's largest shareholder, extracting value out of a company that they own.
But again, the whole rationale, the whole thinking behind this whole fine thing, there's no question Telkom abused its
Yes.
position. There's no question that Telkom still abuses its position. The biggest problem is that you are fining one government agency is fining another government
Yes.
agency.
No, I agree completely.
And the whole
But they've been naughty.
basis.
They've been
No,
naughty.
No doubt they've been naughty.
But there are
But the current administration does not have any reference to the ones that did this. The guys that did it took the money, that was the whole SBS bunch, and they left. They took all their dividends and left the country. So now we've got a situation where if we ever expect ADSL to come down, this is not going to help. And all the litigation and the hoo-ha going forward is going to make it worse.
What would be
So what we in fact doing, and what the competition tribunal is doing, is actually in speeding up the death of the only telecommunications provider in this country with scale at the present moment.
well,
And
I
that
mean,
can cause enormous havoc
what
going forward.
What would be a much more logical and practical? Okay, I'm using logical and practical when I'm talking about a government agency, but you know,
I think you're back in the Game of
Yes.
Thrones.
okay, in fairy tale land where Ben lives,
Yeah.
a practical
In
and
his cave.
logical way to properly punish Telkom for their behavior in the past would not be a monetary fine; it would be an administrative fine.
Absolutely.
You
And
force Telkom to restructure in a
correct.
way which is more
Now-
market friendly.
Now we're
And
talking. Tell them
that-
to privatize wholesale or
Yeah.
get rid of retail
Retail,
or do something.
or just
Stop
make
them being
them-
able
or-
to do this type of
or
problem.
make enforce certain structural changes which basically will compel Telkom to be a completely transparent organization where the stakeholders, the customers,
We're back in the Game of
Oh.
Thrones here.
are able to actually see what's going on. Because if you just look at, I mean, I haven't looked at Telkom's annual report for a few years now, but I'm sure it hasn't changed.
Makes bad
where
reading.
Where they say data revenues. Okay, they lump all their data revenues together into
No,
one
they've
single
started
line.
breaking them down. They've started breaking them down. There's no question you can now start seeing that corporate governance is kicking in. But that's again another whole argument. Why do we need a corporatized government agency?
We don't need a government agency, full stop.
Well, that's a whole different story. The problem is we've now got another layer of administration on top of a government agency, and they still behave like a government agency. So without getting too far into this whole talk, perhaps nationalizing Telkom is not such a bad idea. So you can write that down, and you can say within 6 months, the prediction is, if this whole thing gets out of hand and the legal woes of Telkom get any worse, the government will have no option, because they cannot allow Telkom to go insolvent. Cannot.
You know what? I think it's kind of, it'll be cool if like a full privatization vibe happens. I mean,
Government will not allow.
There's one huge problem. It's called the unions. And no matter how you try to sell the benefits of privatization to the unions, you're not going to win.
Like happy customers.
No, not going to win. Not going to win.
The problem is that even a really good administrative penalty, forcing Telkom to break up certain elements, to split certain elements out, to be more transparent in how it runs its business, is not going to help, because you're still going to run into the union problem. The biggest chunk of Telkom's people are the guys in the vans driving around. They're not the guys sitting in Telkom
those guys,
towers.
the last time I checked, Ben, were all contractors, dude. They weren't permanent employees.
They've still got 20,000 employees. 20,000. They reckon to run a company of this size and this scale, they need 2,000 to 4,000. They've got 20,000 employees.
Yeah,
now, what do you do with those guys?
Dude. Yeah, I don't know. Pay them lots of money.
And these are not high-end people.
The last loss that Telkom made was made because of retrenchment bonuses. 720 million rand was spent to get rid of employees.
Can't win.
So where do you win? Unfortunately, it's now a political thing. It's no longer a commercial thing. The minute you try to rationalize Telkom in any commercial terms, you're going to run into all manner of complications.
Right, yeah.
So moving on.
Let's move on from this topic, because it's like depressing me.
I'm
and it's
sorry.
like, you know what? I'm never going to have fiber to the curb.
No, you will. The chances are it just might not be Telkom that bring it to you.
Hey, dude, it could be
Joburg,
dude, it could
be
like,
Joburg municipality.
It could be Tops Liquors for all I
I
It's
agree.
tragic.
Your
There's-
local friendly neighborhood spa can bring me fiber.
It's tragic. I know that a Neotel fiber runs sort of on my road, down my street.
Yeah,
I just want to go and drill
But
into the
Neotel
sidewalk.
have got a plan.
there.
It's
Sam,
called the
I've-
One Plan. Go and look at it. $7,500 a month. They'll bring
Fiber
the
runs
fiber
down
to you.
both sides of
you
my
know.
road. There's 2 trenches running down my road, okay? It's like ridiculous.
Look, I think
Anyway.
another prediction you can write
My
down.
flat.
In 2 to 4 years, we will have fiber to the home.
Okay, cool.
2 to 4 years.
So
I
then
know
we keep
it's
saying
not
this.
great.
There's
No,
there's
but will it
services
be
online that do
Air
this.
quotes,
I'm gonna go
broadband
open
in the same way that
No.
ADSL is broadband, because it's like
No, it'll be
I'm sorry.
serious fiber.
Okay,
Anything
good.
from
Okay.
50 meg upwards.
Okay, cool. Moving on.
Okay.
Something that made me extremely happy and has been making me happy for a couple of weeks now is the Ouya video game console moving from being a rad idea to being like a fully funded Kickstarter to like they're taking full orders on their website.
They're
now,
like
which is, phenomenal.
$109 or something.
No, $119.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just say
Awesome.
that. I mean, okay, so
it is awesome, but
so
it's a very
Everybody
limited
knows what
device.
Ouya is,
Okay,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to run through it quickly.
Go.
Ouya is an Android-powered games console which raised $8.5 million on Kickstarter to fund the development and rollout of this device. Now, my thing is that Ouya, as it stands at the moment, is a cool idea, okay, and it deserves to survive, okay,
Yes.
it deserves to thrive, okay. But I was having a discussion today, and I think that this is just the tip of a very big iceberg, and Microsoft and Sony are the dual Titanics about to run over it.
the dual Titan. How so? Okay,
Because
go.
okay, so the problem is that Microsoft and Sony are stuck with selling games consoles, which cost a lot of money to develop for. Okay, you have to pay licensing fees to them to publish on their platforms. You are stuck in an aging architecture. Okay, and the operating systems are controlled by Microsoft and Sony. Okay, compare that to Android. Okay, Now, if Ouya is able to prove that you are able to build an interesting and sufficiently complex game console on top of Android, suddenly you have an open architecture. You can build games consoles.
Well, every
for
single Ouya actually ships with the SDK to write your own games. Right?
Okay, but what's to say that you don't take... Ouya is a fairly lightweight games console.
Yes.
Okay. What's to say you don't build a slightly more heavyweight one which can
More hardware
outperform the PS3 and the Xbox 360 on a platform which is open and easy to write games for.
Yeah, there you go. So there's your two big stumbling blocks right there. All right, open. All right. Sony and Microsoft. Yes, Microsoft's behavior of late in the past 2 years a lot more open than what it's been.
Yeah.
All right, but it's still
But
a
only
pretty
open.
closed,
Yeah.
extremely controlling.
And Xbox is very... I mean, the
Can
console
I sneak
Very
in
market
quickly?
is very close.
All right, so
Just want to comment on one little thing you made, and that's Microsoft are open in a commercial sense.
Yes.
Not open in terms of come take the software and do what you want.
This is like free beer, as in like it's free beer. All right, it's like that open. It's the one major stumbling block that any company with commercial interest in terms of licensing and making money off of all of the derivative works is going to hit like a major snag on. All right. I actually just watched the movie that was made a couple of years ago called The Indie Game. All right, and it's fascinating to see some of the huge stumbling blocks that indie gamers have. All right, not just from a resourcing and a raising startup perspective, but in terms of working with extremely closed environments. That they dev on, that's going to be the first big stumbling block, is the openness of it. All right, and easy to use, second big thing. All right. Android is super open, which makes it easy to use. Okay, and you can write in a whole bunch of different languages, all right, and deploy on Android. That makes a very compelling argument. I don't think any of the big commercial guys in this space are able to do that. It's just this gargantuan effort. You need like the weight of the internet in order to make that.
But think
that
about
come
it
to
this way:
fruition, right?
guys like EA, for example, are already writing games for Android. Okay,
Yeah.
they're writing games for iOS. They're writing games for mobile in a mobile platform. Now, all the textures and a lot of the stuff is already built. I mean, they draw really high res and then they render them down to fit the image that they want. They don't draw them they draw in the highest res they possibly can, and then they compress the hell out of them and end up with the grainy 8-bit picture that you see. So, but I mean, with Ouya and with any other Android-based platform, suddenly you've got an open architecture, an open platform where the big guys are already writing games for it. They already have teams which build games for these platforms. How hard is it now to say, okay, we're going to, instead of building a game which takes 15 minutes to play, we're going to build a game which takes 3 hours to play, or 4 hours to play, or 20 hours to play, or
Why does
it massively multiplayer?
So why does it require that much heavier a console, though, Ben?
Just in terms of hardware acceleration.
Take a look at iOS, right? The whole like 4 Lego Harry Potter games, right, are available in like one package on the iOS store. That's like a lot of game. My kids are playing that thing something stupid at the moment. They're not even close to halfway.
So we're looking at we're looking at those games on a 10-inch tablet. Okay, we want this to now display on a 52-inch TV in equal resolution.
Okay.
And HD plus.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
So
but that's just a factor of the hardware, in my opinion. I think
that's why you just need a bit more. I think you just need a bit more kick on the hardware, but you still have because people start writing games which will run on Ouya, which will run on a more powerful version of Ouya, or some other device with somebody, but they're all running on Android, and now suddenly Microsoft and Sony, with their closed walled garden approach, with give us lots of money, spend lots of money building teams for us, are now being undermined by a platform which is easy and fast to write for.
Totally, that's
Speaking
the beauty of the
hardware,
model.
I mean, I do love the fact that it's deliberately hackable from a hardware perspective as well. I mean, they've used sort of very standardized bits so that you can very easily take it apart, put in whatever you want in there.
The absolute beauty part of that is it does two things, right? Okay, firstly, it means that people don't screw with your platform overly, because it's like you kind of go, okay, well, keys to the Magic Kingdom. Go wild. Right? Everybody kind of goes, okay, the allure's gone. Now they start centering their efforts on how to make that better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like this rapid innovation starts ensuing after that.
I
So
mean,
I think
TV,
it's a great model. Yeah.
We've been waiting for this to happen on TV for ages. You know, everyone's been saying for years and years and years, you know, TV's the next platform that's just going to explode wide open. And, you know, we thought it might happen with smart TVs and it might happen through the consoles. My money's on consoles.
You know, again, Xtonic in the chat room has just kind of said that XBMC getting early access to Ouya console for development, right? I think that kind of stuff, I mean, you know, we're just thinking in the context of games here, but XBMC is a fantastic home media environment. There are plugins for Hulu Plus and for Netflix and you know, I think it could well end up being a very, very big player in the home entertainment space outside of just gaming. I think
they've
that's
also
really cool.
OnLive, which is a service which streams PC games to your TV, have announced support or pledged support for
That's
it.
great. I think
So
you know what,
Steam
and Steam as well.
it's going to be rad.
Yeah,
It's going to be so
And,
And it's pretty.
XBMC, Plex, Viva, which does streaming music videos, Twitch TV, which does esports, not Netflix and Amazon and those guys, and Spotify and
I'm
Pandora
gonna
aren't
be
there
the girl.
yet, but
I'm going to be the girl and say it's really pretty.
But it is,
It's
yes.
so tiny.
Yes, no, it's been done very well. Stephen, you jumped in for a second. You kind of mentioned Steam there for a sec. So let's quickly jump on that and the fact that Valve and Steam have also announced that they're going to start distributing other stuff beyond games through the platform. I think that is also kind of interesting. It's like it never ceases to amaze me
But that's the
how much
evolution of how the whole
industry-changing
industry
stuff
is
starts
changing.
coming out of the gaming industry.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's fantastic, right? So I didn't actually read the story, but quickly give me the lowdown. What kind of stuff
I'm just
are they
having a
looking
quick look
at?
here, but I had a quick glance at it. But they're going to start delivering all manner of software and apps and everything else beyond just what they've been doing in the past. So you've got the story up there. I'm on their website. But what they've realized is that Steam as a delivery platform and as an app store is a brilliant concept.
Well, if you think
and it's
about it,
available
Very
on
active community.
all sorts of platforms, and it's, as you say, it's got a brilliantly active
what
community.
you'll find is that
I mean,
companies
4.1 million gamers online right now.
Incredible.
companies who don't necessarily want to distribute via the Microsoft App Store or the
Correct.
Apple App Store
Correct.
now would have an independent
alternative strong store.
an independent alternative store which they can use to deliver games or pro applications direct to their consumers, and well, I guess Steam will be doing some level of curation on them, but maybe with less.
I don't think a matter
I
of
think there will be a fair amount of curation. I think the important
Yes.
thing to kind of look at here is the fact that, you know, and again, a theme that came out of the indie game movie is until Steam and guys like that started looking at digital distribution of content, gaming content and that kind of thing, and building these platforms, it was virtually impossible for the small garage band type developer
to get a foot in.
Yeah, because the thing is, you'd need a really, really big development resource, be extremely well funded. You had to pay like huge licenses and stuff like that to the guys that held the high ground, all right, the Microsofts and the Sonys and all of these kinds of guys. Steam has provided this way for people to get around it, and I think, you know what, it's kind of exciting because it's been the champion of indie games. It's where I found Machinarium, right? It's where I found some of the most awesome games I found on Steam, and I downloaded them on Steam and enjoyed them on Steam. The pricing model's right there. It's slick. It just works. It's portable, so you can move it around from machine to machine. And now imagine if it starts doing that for the broader software industry. I think that's freaking cool, right?
And the other thing is that it would offer independent vendors who want to offer additional value to their users say, well, Steam works on Linux, it works on Mac, it works on Windows.
That's the biggest
And-
thing. It's
well,
completely
not quite Linux yet.
cross-platform.
It's almost Linux. It's coming soon. But the point is that so if I bought a game or if I bought a program which was written for all three platforms, if I decide, you know what, I don't feel like I'm using a Mac today, and actually I want to sell my Mac and buy a Windows machine. I might
A lot of the content ports,
I
yeah.
might have access to all that content on my Windows machine as well, and it's only all those applications that I've bought. So maybe I've bought an Office suite, and now suddenly I can just say, oh, I don't need to buy Microsoft Office because I've got an Office suite which works on Mac, which works on
it's going to depend
Windows,
on
which
working
works
on
on
all of those
Linux.
platforms.
Yes,
but
I mean that's
indeed.
an option for
Most definitely.
a software developer to differentiate themselves by saying you buy it once, you run you buy it through Steam, you can download it as many times as you like, you can download it to 3 different platforms, and you don't have a good day. You know?
Brett, I like what you were saying earlier about innovation generally coming out of the gaming industry. It's kind of like, so I suppose gaming is to the internet what porn was to the TV and film industries, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to make that connection. Sorry.
Yeah,
if I don't bring porn into every
Well, I was going to
podcast,
say,
I'm not doing my
it
job.
wouldn't be,
No
it
wonder
wouldn't be
last
an
week was
episode of the
such fun.
ZA Tech Show.
Hey,
But listen,
have pole
speaking
dance tonight,
speaking
so-
of porn, what I want to jump into with here quickly
Nice
is
segue.
Are we talking geek porn here?
I want to quickly talk about one of our
One-breasted woman.
So one of our 2 sponsors, that's
Snapping
Snapdragon.
into our
Oh, it's
sponsor
Hooters.
shout
No,
out.
no,
They're
we've
going
got
to love that.
No, can I tell you why they're going to love it? Is because it's serious geek porn. If you look at the tech that's going on under the hood inside Snapdragon, it is okay. Well,
Nice.
I
Wow.
was pretty excited when I
That's a
got a
slow
demo
chat.
of this recently. No. I was pretty excited when I got a demo of it recently. There is some amazing stuff that this chipset and this platform does. For those of you that have been living under a rock, Snapdragon powers the vast majority of handheld devices. It's multi-platform. It does more stuff than just processing. There's graphics under the hood. There's networking capability under the hood. There's all kinds of interesting stuff, and they're just adding to it more and more and more every single day. And the cool thing about having them as a sponsor of the ZA Tech Show is that there is a extremely rad competition that you can enter by going to zatechshow.co.za/Snapdragon. Sam, I have to ask you, have you solved it
I'm
yet?
busy doing it right now. I keep forgetting to try it during the week, but I can't win anything, so I'm not motivated.
Absolutely
Although
have to
I'm
do
not
it.
hosting this week. Am I allowed to win it this week?
No, no one affiliated with the ZA Tech Show, unfortunately.
What if I quit?
You
Dude,
can.
I totally
So
tried.
it's like the Hotel
Totally tried
California. You can check in anytime you like,
can
but you
never
can
leave.
never leave.
So the lowdown is, it's really, really simple. Log on to zatechshow.co.za/Snapdragon, or just like don't log on, visit the site, solve the riddle, enter the competition. All right. It runs for 12 weeks. We're in week 6 of the competition, so we're halfway through at the moment. Qualcomm with Snapdragon is giving away either a tablet or a smartphone a week for the duration of the competition. We've given away 1 tablet and 4 smartphones so far. And Miss Pimone Burke from Thunderbell Park won a Nokia Lumia 800 last week by doing this. From the looks of things, it's a Samsung.
Hold
I
on.
think it's a Galaxy Note.
We
Up
have listeners
next.
in Thunderbell Park.
Dude, we have listeners in
Awesome.
Thunderbell Park, East London, Santon,
I know cool people from
Centurion, Edenvale, like all over the show, right? But
Some of them even come from caves, like Ben Kelly.
indeed, yes. Cave number 7, fourth bush to the right. But
No,
seriously,
that's the
go and enter the competition. Worst case scenario, you'll have some fun. Best case scenario, you'll win a smartphone or a tablet. And we really thank Snapdragon by Qualcomm for their contribution and fantastic sponsorship of the ZA Tech
They
Show.
clearly have great taste in podcasts.
They do. You know what? And yeah, you know, it speaks for itself completely. I think it's kind of exciting. Tech porn. Come
Oh,
on.
it is real geek porn, that one, because
Yeah.
no one but a geek will get hot and bothered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon inside their phone
So
and tablet. But it's cool.
quickly,
Very
I'm excited.
quickly changing tack while we're on the topic of mobile stuff. We should probably
Yeah.
mention now that so this is the Google part of the show. We're going to talk about Google and Motorola and all kinds of interesting stuff that's come out of that this week. But let's start off with the fact that Motorola laying off. I've heard reports of 20%. I've heard them some of them as high as 40% of the mobile businesses
Wow.
workforce.
They also shut down entire offices, didn't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
It's pretty scary. I think that's part and parcel. It's going to come with the territory. I don't know what the internal structure inside Motorola was prior to the acquisition. I
It
know
was
that they,
incredibly corporate.
but
Yeah.
it was probably a little bit bloated. Also, if you think about it, if you're going to merge it with the people that make Android, namely Google, you're going to be able to strip out a lot of
Yeah.
non-core people and people that are quite frankly no longer needed in the greater scheme of things. So it's sad for those people that are going, but I think first piece of decent news out of Google and Motorola since they announced
I
the
mean,
acquisition,
they
right?
started
Just
talking
made
about
sense.
restructuring and streamlining the organization pretty much after they bought it, so it's not a massive surprise.
Sure.
Probably, hopefully it wasn't a massive surprise for people who got a paycheck, that month. And
Interestingly
last week,
enough, until the sale was finalized recently, Sam, they actually didn't say anything about any rationalization. They pretty much guaranteed all jobs would be safe and everything would be cool and dandy. But the truth be told, Motorola in the year since pretty much that they started this whole process has done nothing. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't cracked it big with any particular device. I personally think Motorola make really superb devices. They're well built, they work well, they're brilliant, but they haven't hit any sort of consumer highs, and no one's bought them.
Yeah.
So
You know
I
what,
think now it's inevitable that they're going to have to restructure and change and do whatever they need to do to save the company.
And just focus, I think.
I mean, if
They've
I look
got
at it,
so many devices out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Samsung's just that 10 to
27
15% better.
27 devices, and they said they're going to pull it down to a couple, 3, 4.
Look, I think it's a great idea, but at the same time, it's like Motorola's there, but they just missed the mark. It's like if you look at what HTC and Samsung are doing in terms of their Android devices, they're just so good. Motorola's are very, very polished, but I feel that they're a little bit off the pace in terms of pure raw performance. I think a lot of the features under the hood are cool, but it was clear that the company wasn't nearly agile enough
No, not at all.
in its
Not at all.
previous state. It needs to be far more aggressive. It needs to be really, really innovative.
Needs to
It's
get
like
a good Google kick up the
was lagging
backside.
a couple of months behind. So I think the interesting one for me is going to be to see whether the new reference devices become Motorola's. I mean, they should, right?
Well, logic says, but then again, we were talking earlier, don't
Yeah.
bring logic into this.
For sure.
I mean, if Google own Motorola, which makes some of the finest feeling devices out there, why wouldn't they use them to make their reference devices?
Now, if you know somebody that works at Frommer's, or you maybe work at Frommer's, the travel company, all right, on the back of the 20 to 40% workforce layoff that Motorola just had,
You maybe want to be polishing up that CV a little bit.
yes, put some shine on the CV. Google just bought Frommer's this week. Interesting, I suppose.
Well,
I think it's kind of a little bit, reactive to the fact that
It's reactive
Apple's
to travel. What's the other
but
one?
I think
TripAdvisor.
Apple's starting to do a lot more stuff with maps and starting to inject a lot of goodness and intelligence into what they're doing there. Clearly, there's a bit of a shortfall now,
Yeah.
and Google's starting to feel the pressure there. And I mean, it's strange because you really wouldn't think so, but Apple commands a pretty big portion of the mind share,
Well-
and it's like
they do.
and they've moved away from Google and Google Maps in a really big way because I think they can do stuff better.
Yeah.
So Google clearly needs to beef some stuff up, and maybe this is the first move on the travel side.
I mean,
I don't know.
there's just there are enormous wads of cash sitting on the table in the online travel agent sort of
Yeah.
space in general as well. I mean, if you look, I think in Europe, I read something now that 50% of all hotel bookings come through the OTAs, to European hotels on
Wow.
average, so that's like travel.com and
Yes.
Expedia and all of those. So, I mean, it's not clearly the space that Frommer's is in, but if that's, they tried stuff with the kind of, they did try to do the OTA thing, Google directly, and it just kind of never really took off. I think even Yahoo Places kind of had more traction.
Yeah, I
than
think
that.
I think they're always going to make a ton more easy cash off of just passing the traffic on. But I think what you've got to be able to do in the greater scheme of things there is you've got to just not just mine what's on those sites and put it inside search results. You've actually got to add a bit of intelligence to it so that people are like, okay, cool, and then hand them off to
I don't even know
the
if it's
travel
intelligence.
agency. I don't know.
mean, I just think
Context,
It's
I don't know, yeah.
simplicity. I don't know. I mean, people are flocking to Expedia because you can book everything in 3 clicks as opposed
Yeah.
to shopping around at 20 different websites and
But I mean, the thing is also that, I mean, a year ago, Google bought a company called Zagat, which does local travel and food. It's fairly localized. They've got a few international cities, but it's mostly US. And so they have a travel portal already. Now, what this does is gives them a wealth of existing content on a global level, which they could theoretically use to beef up the online content from Haggard.
Okay.
And
Right.
so I mean, there is the chance that they could. I mean, depends what Google really feel. I mean, I don't see Google buying a travel book brand because they want books. I see Google buying Fromers because they have content. And
Well, yeah,
and
totally. And,
and
you know, that's what I was
Google
saying
is
about
content,
adding
yeah.
some context and like.
And if you've already got a sort of an online food thing, and now you've got a really good travel brand, why are you not saying let's smash the two together, let them share content, let them work together?
Totally.
You build a really, really awesome travel portal out of what you've got there. You've got content for every city in the world from Fromers, plus in detail restaurant reviews for most of the US and and big international cities. I mean, what's
Can I
the next
just
step?
inject a little bit of interesting something? One of my picks this week it actually came to me, was TripAdvisor travel guides per city.
They're amazing. That's
And
a great pick.
If you have a look at those travel guides, they come straight out of the TripAdvisor database of information. They're brilliantly put together. They've got maps, magic word, maps built in. It walks you through a city via a map through your GPS. It gives you little arrows and compasses. It is the most spectacular
Those are the
travel
best.
app when you go to any country.
Yeah.
Other than even Johannesburg's not on the list. But I mean, I've just used it recently, and it works on Android, and it's downloaded, so you don't have to use data when you're traveling around. It's brilliant. And when you throw that in, all of a sudden, doesn't the purchase of Fromers start making a lot of sense?
That's a great point. I mean, that those apps are incredible. They've got these self-guided walking tours. So I whenever I travel, those are the best things to do. But it talks you through wherever you go, step by
And
step.
gives you
gives
context
you
That's
context
nice.
information.
You're not just going,
information
ooh,
and-
looks
Yeah.
pretty,
Brilliant.
that's cool.
It's
You
also-
actually got a little bit of context to what you're
Yeah.
looking at, which is nice.
It's great for serendipitous travel as well, because it's got features like, if you are, I don't know, you're out in the middle of a city and you've got some time to kill and you don't know the city, you can say, what is there to do that's close to me that starts soon? And it will, like, I ended up going to 3 plays on the West End in London that I hadn't planned to, because I was hanging around there and the app
Okay.
told me there are these shows starting quite soon and they're
See,
quite
that's
highly
rare.
reviewed.
That's
And
very
it was, that serendipity was amazing.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Where I see the Fromers stuff like working really, really well is what I use for a lot of those serendipitous stuff. And like, instead of using like the like self-guided tour stuff, is I use Google Goggles like a lot. I just kind of mission and then I like fire up Google Goggles and point it at stuff and it tells me what I'm looking at, which is rad. But I find that info is like very, very thin. It's just like a little description and that's right?
where
So maybe that
TripAdvisor
stuff
social and that whole social element of trusted reviews
Yeah.
from millions of people and little hints and tips from real live people. Maybe some of them are bots created for the purpose. But
Oh,
even
totally,
so, on
totally.
sheer scale, there's got to be, if there are 400
there's gotta be
reviews,
some
there's got to
value.
be 25, 30% that are real. And it just gives you such a curated sense of what you're on about. And I've never yet been disappointed, not with a restaurant, not with a hotel, not with anything that I've ever got from TripAdvisor. So it's just a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant system. And obviously Google are looking to get into some of that. And when you start putting that into their Google Plus and their Places integration in Google Plus, it suddenly becomes another whole element of integration of data, maps, location awareness. It's just a brilliant, brilliant move, I think.
Our chat rooms pointed out, on that point of integration, a really nice little thing as well, which is that Google Translate can now translate from images, and Google Search can now search from images as well. So you start wrapping all of this into.
It's scary,
so
scary
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? And you know what makes me excited about it is the fact that I just love the fact that there is this absolutely gargantuan data center in the cloud doing stuff. It's like I just need to like provide input from my mobile device, and all of the heavy lifting is being done on the back end, and like pumps value back at me on my phone. That's the bit that every time a new service like that or a new little tweak is made to one of these services, I just go, wow. Have to marvel at the fact that there's this like seriously big piece of back-end tin doing all of the hard work.
Yeah.
Well, you saw that scare this week, or everyone's writing about how this poor fellow got hacked.
Oh, the dude from Wired. Yeah, that's pretty scary. So hold that thought.
Okay.
I really do want to talk about that, but I want to quickly just jump in and speak about another of our sponsors, Sharp Interactive LED. If you haven't seen this thing yet, do yourself a favor. Go to sharpinteractive.co.za. Watch the videos there. It is just crazy impressive. Big LED backlit screen with touch capability, with a built-in webcam, with a computer at the back. It sounds like a bit of a Frankenstein thing, but then you start using it and you go, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense. So you can throw presentations, you can type, you can take notes, you can draw straight on the board, you can annotate stuff. Sam's favorite is always that you can like do Skype calls with people and draw like little funny faces and like, and horns and stuff on their face. Yeah, it's fantastic. But seriously, go check it out. It is a seriously cool piece of kit. We had a chance to play with it a couple of weeks back, and it was really impressive. And I can see it replacing at least 4 or 5 other things in the boardroom, with a single device. So that's Sharp Interactive LED, sharpinteractive.co.za. Go check them out. We thank them very much for their support of the ZA Tech Show. Another company with exceptional taste in podcasts.
That's great.
So before I spoke about Sharp, we were talking about the journalist at Wired that got hacked. And have you seen the uproar in terms of Apple actually changing their whole policy in terms of password resets and
Amazon.
Yeah, it all got kicked off by Amazon. That they compromised his Amazon account first, and used the information they gained from his Amazon account to compromise his Apple account, and then from the information they used from that to compromise his Gmail account, his Google account as well. And then from what I understand is they were just after his Twitter account. They just wanted to like post some shit on his Twitter account, and then they kind of went, well, seeing as we're here, let's see how much damage we can do. I mean, they erased his iPhone, they erased his Mac, they deleted everything out of his Gmail account.
Purged all of his iCloud backups. They deleted his entire iTunes profile.
They literally deleted this guy's entire digital life.
It was very scary. They reckon that the one thing everybody should do, and if you guys haven't done this yet, I know it's a bit of a pain in terms of using
offline
Google
backup.
No. Well, there's that. I mean, that's like that makes like perfect sense. Just have an offline backup. But at the same time, 2-factor authentication for
Gmail.
For Gmail, just do it seriously.
I think you need to repeat that, because that is the simplest, most obvious thing that people don't do and should do.
Look,
use 2-factor authentication with your SMS, or get an SMS or someone else's
The reason
email.
most people don't do it is because it's really inconvenient. It's like you have to log in and then wait for the SMS. Look, it's instantaneous. The SMS comes in, but then you've got to. It's like going into internet banking, right? So it's a bit of a bugbear, but you drill straight into the settings inside Gmail, enable 2-factor authentication. It already has your cell phone number, because guess what? It has that as one of your password reset options, and do it. Seriously, it makes great sense.
But you know what the most fascinating thing of this whole hack was? All of us are told to put secure passwords and to have uppercase, lowercase, all sorts of hoo-ha, change your password every 2 minutes.
No idea how often I reset my passwords each week, because I'm like, what was that special character again? And did it the 2 go before the 3?
But there wasn't one password hack in this entire process.
It was all social engineering.
It was all social engineering.
Yeah.
And what's cool is they socially engineered all of those companies' support lines, which I found really cool. Anyway, while we're on the topic of Google, Sam actually raised this just before the podcast. I think it's probably worthwhile noting and letting all you SEO jockeys out there maybe chime in, send us some mail, tell us what you think about this. But Google copyright penalization. So I think this is rude from the perspective that I can see what they're trying to do all right? But at the same time, I don't know. It leaves it so wide open for abuse. So Sam, tell us a story.
So basically, Google has, and they very much sort of snuck it in. Now it went in very quietly. So they changed the algorithm so that they now penalize a site based on one of the many factors that they take into account is how many takedown notices the website has received that have been filed electronically against them. Which firstly is problematic because it's registering takedown notices as opposed to things that after review were actually found to be legitimate. So it's allowing copyright bullies a lot of leeway. Google, funnily enough, explicitly said that they're exempting YouTube from this. Suspicious.
Oh yeah, funny that really.
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously it's kind of being pitched as an attempt to get all the torrents out of search results, and I have noticed in the last couple of days when looking on torrent searches for entirely legal content that the torrent, it is affecting searches on torrents.
I think what's interesting at the same time, though, just so you mentioned torrents, there's been a ton of totally legal content that over the past couple of weeks is now being distributed electronically using torrents, which I think is kind of exciting. So that presents like an interesting little stumbling block, because if they're trying to get rid of the torrent sites, right, more and more companies, more and more individuals, right, are using BitTorrent as a mechanism for distributing their content. And why shouldn't they be? It is super efficient. It makes sense. Stuff not only comes down faster, but it's cheaper, it's less bandwidth, it's all of those cool things.
It's much more robust.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I download all my massive software upgrades and that sort of thing like that, because if they time out, it's not an issue.
Blizzard, man, Blizzard uses torrents.
Yeah, totally.
Peer-to-peer,
look, what's interesting for me from a legal perspective is, at least in South African law, and I don't know how it is in the States, as soon as you start having any kind of editorial control that tries to filter out illegal content, it's kind of this weird catch-22. You then become legally liable when anything slips through. Whereas if you are not looking at any of that content and you're totally hands-off and saying, well, we have no editorial control, people put whatever they want in the system, like if you're an ISP, for instance.
Well, kind of the way Pirate Bay does.
Totally.
They kind of turn around and they say, well,
we don't know what people put on it.
Yeah.
But legally, you're kind of much safer if there's no control than if there's a little bit of control. So Google is now introducing a little bit of control, which leads to an interesting question from a legal perspective of now, whenever things are not penalized and do appear in Google search, is there kind of a copyright infringement case made against Google? Yeah. Which is interesting. Which is opening the can of worms.
Because if you think about it from the from like one perspective, that content is not necessarily being generated organically on the fly. A lot of that content is cached. A lot of that content would be sitting inside of algorithms. Don't forget that Google scrapes the entire internet and indexes it, right, and caches the whole net. Right. Oh, guys, this is great. Oh, look, I just shot myself.
So they literally download the internet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's an interesting one.
Okay, cool. So I think that's all we have time for in terms of features, but my favorite part of the episode, everybody's favorite part of the episode, picks of the week.
And the biggest pressure.
And Sam Beckbessinger is the only person that sent me some pics in advance. So let's start with her. Indeed. So Sam, you have two
I actually
picks
might
this week,
change
right?
my mind about one at the last minute.
Don't steal mine, please.
Okay. The first one I want to talk about, and it's not new, but it makes me, it's one of those things like hover cars that we've been waiting for.
Hoverboards, what do you mean?
And hover cars we've been waiting for just years, and it's so exciting. But this is one that's really sort of starting to actualize, and that is the Google self-driving car. So that's my pick this week because it just hit a really important milestone. So in the test, they've now cleared 300,000 miles with no crashes. In fact, there was one crash, and that was when a human overrode the system and then crashed it.
So it was human error.
Right.
Human error.
Human error.
That excites me so much. One of the reasons it excites me is that my mom is blind, so obviously can't drive. And just thinking about the difference this kind of technology will make for people who have some kind of
electronic
handicap.
chauffeurs, man.
Amazing.
I just think that, I think if you've got kids, imagine saying to your car, go pick my kids up from school and take them home.
Oh, forget from your perspective. Imagine, your 13-year-old who's now like, going to the mall and then to Hatfield. No one will know. Driving myself.
Never mind any of that. Finally, I can be driven somewhere and I can tweet, man.
It's awesome. I want self-driving cars. I want them.
Yes,
I want them. So I love
what they're
you,
talking
Google.
about now is that I think what
What
they've
they
been
haven't
testing.
cracked is self-driving taxis.
But they should. They should completely do that. That was
Just,
right.
we have massive problems with road accident deaths and drunken driving and all sorts of things in this country. It could be amazing. Although I do worry, the taxis and maintenance problems. Imagine sort of not maintaining the self-driving, not updating the self-driving software.
Algorithm.
Yeah.
I guess
Algorithm's like flicking a whip out the window for like an ox cart kind of
It
thing.
could be problematic. And my second pick is a nifty little app that I found for my iPad called Cloud On. It's a simple app. It's just a lovely, robust Microsoft Office client, essentially. It's
Okay.
free, which is cool.
Microsoft Office client.
Well,
Explain it to
okay,
me.
so that's kind of not entirely true. It opens all of your Microsoft Office documents on your iPad, and they're editable. And it gives you an interface with a ribbon and all of that looks a lot like Microsoft Office.
Okay.
So it essentially gives you the Office suite on your iPad for free. It links up with Dropbox and Google
I was
Drive and a
gonna
couple of
ask-
other
there we go.
things. Just
I'm
pulls in
loving
your
it.
documents
How
that
much?
way. It's free. I'm pretty sure it's free.
it's free?
Yeah, it's free. So really
Amazeballs need
nifty little iPad app. Download it. It's Cloud On. It's cool.
Downloading it now.
Cool.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Kelly.
I've got two slightly longer ones and one really, really quick one.
Okay.
The first one is I am a big fan of, I have what's the right word? A checkered relationship with
Checkered past.
with free games.
Free games. Okay.
The kind that make money through in-app purchases.
Oh yes. Okay.
Okay.
And advertising.
Well, I don't care about advertising. I'm quite happy that they shove ads in my face, but I like when you've got kids, they want to download everything.
Yeah.
And my son loves racing games.
Okay.
So, and I found this one called CSR Racing, which is basically just a drag racing game.
All
So
right.
you essentially have three controls. You have the accelerator pedal, which you use to feather while you try to get your revs up before the start. You can gear up and you can gear down and you can hit the nitrous. There's no steering. So basically it's all about timing and watching the revs and hitting everything at the same time. And then you level up. And a lot of these games, they really put severe obstacles in your way to force you to spend money in the game.
Yes.
And I could quite easily spend money in CSR racing, but I can quite easily not as well. And the
I
choice
like
is
that.
there for mine.
I like that.
And maybe when I get up to level 5, I'll find. But it's an issue of how fast you want to progress and what cars you want to buy. So they got all these licensed cars. They got like really nice cars, and each level you get a different car, and they offer you discounts on the cars to get you to buy a new one. So they put a lot of reasons for you to spend money there, but you don't actually have to do it. You can quite easily do it without. You can have fun in the game without having to spend any money, which I enjoy.
So that's CSR racing.
CSR Racing in the App Store.
Okay. Cool.
The second one I just found the other day is a thing called Clean Writer Pro. Basically, it's also you can download it in the Mac App Store or in the iOS Store. And basically, what it is a very low-level word processor, which you full screen, and it eliminates distractions from your life. And one thing I like it does is when you finish typing a paragraph, it grays out. This fades that paragraph, all the previous text. So when you're typing, all you see is the what you're typing in dark, and the moment you hit enter, it puts that into a grey. So so you're only really seeing. Your focus can be on the paragraph you're typing at that point in time, rather than the stuff that's elsewhere on the page. And it only costs 99 cents.
And it has spell check in it,
Yes,
which is what OhmWriter doesn't have, which makes me grumpy.
So that's really cool. And then I just spotted this today. My last little thing is there is a bookshop in New York called Singularity & Co.
All right.
And they've got a little crowdfunding thing, which is now finished, Kickstarter, where they are going to try and take old sci-fi books which are out of print and in danger of becoming extinct, and tracking down the copyright owners and e-bookifying them to save old science fiction
Love it.
novels from the pulper.
Did they
think that's
make?
fantastic.
Did they make? Yeah,
Yeah,
they did. They make
they
their
were asking for
goal.
15,000. They got 52.
It's
So
beautiful.
I really hope they succeed,
I
because I,
love
think
Kickstarter.
it is
Good on you,
it is
Kickstarter,
a
for making
noble
dreams come true.
It's a noble endeavor they're going upon to save old science fiction novels from being forgotten. So
Kickstarter's like a
Lovely.
reach for a dream for geeks.
Quote of
perfect
the week.
description.
That's the title.
Perfect
Reach for a dream for
description.
geeks.
Mr. Ambrose, your pick, sir.
Well, I've been running around recently, traveling all exotic places of the world,
yes,
which
as
have
you
been
do, as you do.
as we do, and it's been pretty awesome. Sorry, it's just my brother's desperately trying to get hold of me. And I found something from TripAdvisor which made an amazing difference to the few cities I was in, and that is offline city guides, and they're on available on Android and iPhone.
Cool.
Not BlackBerry yet or any other platform. And once you've downloaded everything, it's got maps, it's got restaurants, hotels, attractions, and the coolest thing is a free self-guided tour. So in Paris, where I was, if you want to do a tour of Montmartre and the Latin Quarter, wherever you went to go, it says this is a 3-hour tour, and it walks you through it with a compass and a map. And each time you stop at a designated spot, it gives you some information about that spot. So it really gives you contextually relevant information, which is great, and it's free, and you don't have to use data. So even if you're not roaming,
yeah, that's great.
you don't have to use data, and the maps work with your GPS. So
I
it's
really
a
like
brilliant
that.
way to
That's
save
good.
money. And all the reviews that are available in TripAdvisor for restaurants, hotels, and all the rest are available in the app with pictures as well.
How big are the
It's
offline
quite
versions?
It's quite a big download. It's between 30 and 100 meg.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Which is not insane.
I'll still do that over Wi-Fi.
So you
no
download
hassle,
it
yeah.
over Wi-Fi before you leave, or at the hotel, or wherever, or at the coffee shop. The one thing I did find, most of Paris, there's lots of free Wi-Fi everywhere. So it was really useful. So that's an absolute must for those of you that are traveling at the end of the year.
Excellent.
And then my other pick is quite retro, because we haven't discussed this for a long time. But I got one to review about 2 weeks ago, and it's something called a BlackBerry. You heard of those
yes,
things?
Yes, I'm rocking a
Yeah.
BlackBerry
Any
at the
particular
moment. Yeah.
BlackBerry?
Well, it's a particular BlackBerry, and it's selling for round about 1,500 rand.
What a win.
It's got an FM radio.
Ah,
Aha.
yes.
It's got a dedicated BBM button, which is pretty cool. And we're just about to release some research which is going to show that BlackBerry, if anything, since January, has increased their market share of smartphones in South Africa. And now along comes the new BlackBerry Curve 9320, which is slick, it's slim, it's sleek, it's running OS 7.1.
That replaces the 8520,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Great.
It pretty much takes out the whole bottom end of the BlackBerry range. But the biggest thing that it runs is OS 7.1, which is really fast, it's really slick, it's got all sorts of one of the main things, it's incredibly stable. Never had the device crash on me, didn't have to pull out the ubiquitous BlackBerry battery every 2 minutes to keep the thing running, and it's got a Wi-Fi hotspot built in.
Nice.
So all the cool features you can want.
hotspot, but not over BIS.
Not
of
over
course,
BIS.
right?
You've got to pay for data, but there are a lot of packages out there, like the Cell-C package, where you get extra data on top, which is pretty reasonable. So great package,
Or
great
a clever
price.
little trick, as we saw, is you top up using ATA. All right.
Yeah.
If you spend over if you spend over $50,
You get 100%.
You get 100% free airtime. Now, while you can't use that against something like a service like BIS, what you could do is you could buy $50 worth of airtime,
And
$30 for their social package,
and
all right?
$20 worth of data.
And then you use the free band, the free airtime, you get to rock some data.
So
Very
I was
cool.
really impressed, and considering the price and considering the utility and how nicely built it is, for the price it's not an iPhone, but it's certainly well built and really fast and easy to use, and it's got all the bells and whistles that I think most people would expect from a really high-end entry-level
The
smartphone.
8520 was getting a little long in the tooth.
No, absolutely.
I played with that a couple of
Absolutely.
weeks ago. I think it's a really nice replacement device. So there we go.
So there's my pick of the week.
Awesomeness.
Can I add a very quick little pick to my two,
Sure
which is
thing.
I think that we need to give the little dig a shout out, seeing it is being sold off for scrap
Yes,
metal.
shame, man.
But the new dig, so it's been the domain has been bought and it's been kind of rebuilt. I just want to say it is really lovely. So go dig, and dig's a classic. It's an internet classic.
You know what? A lot of feel good stuff around that. You know, Dig gave us some really, really cool stuff. It was it kind of pioneered that whole model of like word of mouth, peer upvoting stuff. Discovery of cool content. I know there's a rad word for it.
The
Sam.
concept of
What's
drinking
the-
beer.
It's not bookmarking entirely. It's social aggregation.
Social aggregation.
There we go. Which obviously now completely defunct because of Twitter. But go dig.
Yeah,
you were
for
cool.
sure.
We will miss you.
The trend of drinking beer and doing podcasts, which we've done occasionally on this
yes,
one.
yeah.
Pioneered by
Was one of the first.
Where's our beer, guys?
Yes. Okay, we totally have to hook that up for the next episode.
Nemo 2.
All right. So my pick of the week quickly. I've been playing with Mountain Lion for a little while now, and one of the things I hate about undergoing a operating system upgrade is that it's so damn easy. You do an operating system upgrade, for macOS, and it just magically upgrades. It's extremely elegant. I don't even think you have to reboot this time around, which is fantastic. But okay, well, I mean, it was that seamless that I can't even remember. But one of the problems is you tend to take this whole legacy install with you into this new environment. And part of the reason I like doing clean installs because it's a nice, fresh, clean slate, all right? But this time around I didn't. And I found there was a whole bunch of stuff that I really didn't need. So you start thinking, how do you get rid of these apps on your Mac? And gone are the days where you just drag them off into the trash and it's supposed to uninstall them. They leave preference files and funny little handlers and stuff like that all over the place. So I downloaded a free application called App Cleaner, which is absolutely bloody brilliant. All right. It's 100% free, so that completely rocks. It's got a fantastic interface. You drag the apps into the window, and it figures out where all of the pref files and the libraries and bits and pieces are, and it kind of sucks them out and pops them in the trash for you. You also have the ability to click on the little tab for applications and then select them straight from that. It also uninstalls widgets, which is cool. And then it's got this thing called Others, where it's obviously little plugins and bits and pieces. Often when you go through an upgrade of an operating system, you find one or two offending plugins or extensions or whatever the case is, so that's where this comes in handy. It's a little app called App Cleaner. It's free. You should totally get it. Changed my life.
There's a PC equivalent called PC Decrapifier.
It's got a way better. That's a fantastic name,
Yeah.
Decrapifier. If only you could actually install it right at the beginning when you get a new machine. It could take all the crapware off.
It does. It's specifically designed to get rid of bloatware on PCs.
Because you know what the funny thing is? So the Microsoft stores in the States, they're going to roll out a whole bunch more. Their value proposition in terms of selling computers is that they fine-tune the hardware and the software to make for optimal performance, which pretty much means they install all the they uninstall all this trial crap and get the machine running the way it should. Because you know what, I've seen many a Core i5 and a Core i7 run at half speed because of half the crap they install on it. Anyway.
Okay, I'm just playing with App Cleaner now, and yeah, you're absolutely right, Brett.
It is fantastic.
There's one app which doesn't work on Mountain Lion, which happens to be the school communicator.
Yes.
And it pops up every morning and goes, no, I'm just going to sit here in your tray and not do bugger all, and
make your processor run at
and
full
not give you
speed.
any information. So now it's gone.
Oh, very quickly, another really cool trick, and I've probably mentioned it 3-4 times before on the podcast, but if you don't want to mull through 221 episodes of this podcast, so go find that pick of the week. Indeed, no, it's fantastic. You totally should, but all right. If you want a quick tip, Simon actually sent me an iMessage from New York this week where his MacBook Air was running down in 2 hours, and it was Flash. So what Flash was doing was it kind of sits in the background and just chews up your battery, doesn't allow the machine to sleep properly. It screws up the whole system. So the two rules are A, only use Safari, and B, install something called Click2Flash. What Click2Flash does is it blocks any piece of flash on a page, and you can simply click on it to activate it. But the nice thing is it doesn't automatically load the flash in the background, thereby saving you battery life. Jokes aside, you can easily get an extra hour to 2 hours of battery life out of a Mac just by installing Click to Flash. I highly recommend it.
Flash.
So that's it.
Oh.
It'll save your whole battery life.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Thank you, Sam.
Savior
That was
of the
fantastic.
universe.
Sam
That movie's
Beckbessinger
amazing.
from Quirk.
Yes, from Quirk. The place
Thank you
where
very
quirky
much, lady.
people play all day.
Yeah, I think your
In the
job
sun.
title is like the person that knows stuff, pretty much, right?
I wish. Someone described my job today as professional client fluffer, which I thought was better. But
Yes.
yeah, that'll work too.
Okay, well.
All I can say is, yo.
I'd say you got a much cooler business card than I do.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, lady.
Fun being
And
on the show.
shot for hosting last week. You completely hit it out the park. It was
Oh,
like the most
anytime.
popular episode in the past couple of weeks.
Aw.
Brilliant. Well done. Yeah, you.
It's because I have breasts.
Must
be
be.
honest.
Must be
Let's
the
be
reason.
honest.
Must be the reason.
Yeah.
And Mr. Ben Kelly from Mail and Guardian and Ungeeked. When last did you update Ungeeked?
I think I'm
sir?
due for a post fairly soon.
Yes, it's been about a year, right?
Yeah, I think I'm still under the year. Try to do one every 6 months or so.
But thanks for joining us, sir. Your extensive telecoms and tech knowledge.
Thank you.
And Mr. Ambrose, Stephen
me.
Ambrose from Strategy Works. Twice in a row, I've got the company name correct.
Well done.
How
I
sharp
can't
am I?
believe how we're progressing here.
But thanks for joining us, sir.
It's a pleasure. Always fun.
And I'm Brett Haggard at Bretsky on Twitter, Hypertext Media. Go check out Daily 5 or Girl Guides or a whole bunch of stuff we're up to at the moment. It's, there's some interesting stuff happening. And if you aren't a regular listener to the ZA Tech Show, why the hell not? You should do this totally more often. You should download us on iTunes. We are getting a whole bunch of love at the moment on Stitcher Radio. So fantastic stuff happening there. And, send us some mail. Tell us what you think of the podcast. Make some suggestions. We'd love to hear from our listeners and our fans. Until next week, that's episode 221 for Monday, the 13th of August, 2012. In the bag. Take care. The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Snapdragon, the all-in-one processor. To win a tablet or smartphone, visit www.zatechshow.co.za/Snapdragon and by Sharp. Check out the new Sharp Interactive LED at www.sharpinteractive.co.za.